I'm an ambassador for the Career Center here at Calvin University, and I am here to help with the workshop today. I would like to present Jamie from SpartanNash, who will be leading our workshop. If you do have questions, please feel free to type them in the chat. We'll have a few minutes at the end for questions. And if we do run out of time for Jamie to answer them, I'll send these questions to her and then get the answers out to you guys. There also will be a raffle at the end, which I'll announce later. Jamie, go ahead and take it away.
Awesome, great. And can you see my screen okay? Can you see that first title slide?
Yes, we can.
Perfect, okay, awesome. Well, hi guys, thanks so much for having me today. I'm super excited to talk to you guys and answer a lot of questions along the way. I'll kind of start off with just a brief introduction about myself, but our main goal is going to be virtual internships and what to expect if you get one of those opportunities. So first of all, Tori said I'm from SpartanNash. SpartanNash is a Fortune 400 grocery wholesaler and retailer. So we distribute a lot of grocery product all over the place. For those of you at Calvin, you would know D&W's and Family Fairs. Those are our stores. That's probably what you're most familiar with. But we don't only distribute product to those wonderful stores that we own. We also distribute to a lot of independent retailers across the country. So just a little bit about SpartanNash. Good overview there. And then a little bit more on me. So I'm a talent acquisition consultant at SpartanNash. And my overview, I guess, is I started at Grand Valley, studied human resources and supply chain, graduated last April, which is hard to believe. It seems like it's been longer than that, but it wasn't that long ago. I'm super passionate about early and career individuals because obviously I'm not that far removed from what it feels like. And I know the experiences I had are pretty relatable to what you guys are going through right now. So I'm really honored to be in a role that allows me to connect with students I feel, closely aligned with. Internships wise, I worked at Amway. My freshman summer, I worked at Amway. I was their talent acquisition intern. And then during my sophomore year, I worked as a marketing intern at a nonprofit called Hello West Michigan. And then I went back to Amway my junior year procurement. And then I was at talent acquisition at SpartanNash throughout the end of my senior year and then was hired on full time upon graduation. So just a quick overview of me. Plug for the career fair there. I started at the career fair. That's how I got my first opportunity, and everything kind of escalated from there, which was awesome. Super fortunate for that, but I advocate for career fairs and career events as much as possible because it really worked out for me. So I always like to put that in there as a plug to really stay connected just the way you are by being at this event today. So topics for today that I want to cover. I want to go over what it's like to be understanding during a virtual internship, how to understand and even wrap your head around that concept, what you can do before your very first day to make sure that you're prepared and that you feel good going into it, how to prepare for just in general, your day-to-day, what should you be doing to be a successful intern, and then some time management stuff, and obviously we'll save some questions for the end. But please feel free to interrupt me as I present. I believe Tori's going to keep an eye out on the chat and any hands raised. So she will definitely be your voice, I guess, to make sure you guys can get in and ask questions as I go as well. So the first thing is SpartanNash actually did a fully virtual internship this past summer, and it was really successful. It was awesome. I'm very glad that we ended up doing that. And I practiced from the very first second that we decided we were going to do a fully virtual internship, a lot of patience and understanding. I think that's the first thing that you should do if you are presented an internship that's going to be fully virtual, just because it's all new for everybody. So it's new territory for every single person, your manager, probably the intern program lead. You yourself obviously have probably not done a lot of fully remote work. So I would just say the biggest thing is to be patient, understanding, and practice grace throughout the process. There's probably going to be some hiccups along the way. I know for us, as an example, we had a little bit of issues with just making sure all technology was set up perfectly for that first day. But it was something that we had fixed basically by the end of that first day, and it was fine. But it was great to have people that were willing to just kind of laugh about it, work through it, and be really adaptable and agile as we worked through those challenges. Along with this, I would say while you're being understanding, communication is key. So feedback is a gift. If you're continuing to see the same issues over and over again, again, technology is a good example, right? If you don't have access to a certain thing that you absolutely need access to do your job, continue to say that. Continue to make sure that it's an issue that someone's aware of, that you're getting access to, or it's being worked on. Feedback is also a gift in the nature that if you're not getting enough response from your managers, if you're not getting enough work, if you're not getting enough support while you're fully virtual, you should be speaking up about that so that someone can fix it for you. We don't know it's an issue until you tell us. We kind of trust that managers are going to be doing a great job and that you're going to be doing a great job finding a lot of work. So you have to let us know if that's not the case, and we can definitely course correct if needed. And when I say we, I suppose I'm talking about intern leads. So I run our internship program here, which means, again, pretty much any and all issues that came along came to me, and then I was the one who had to go through and distribute out solutions. So even though talking to your manager is always great, and that's always the first step, is to be really transparent with your leadership. If that doesn't seem to quite work, you can always go to your intern lead, make sure that they're in the loop of any issues you're having so that they can help you fix that. Any questions here on just kind of practicing understanding how to, approach it with a little bit of grace throughout your virtual internship?
I don't think we have any questions right this moment, so
Okay.
you're good to keep going.
Awesome. So I like the title of this one. So you've got the job, now what? I think I usually talk a lot about interviewing and virtual interviewing and stuff like that, and some of it will be applicable to that as well. But we're going to really focus on you have the job already. So what should you do for that first day of your internship? I always say research as much as possible. So going into your first day, it's going to be super helpful for you to know a lot about the company, a lot about what your team specifically does or their personalities, skills needed for the role, and then relevant industry knowledge. So company details, you don't need to know every single detail about the organization you're going to join. You're going to learn a lot about them in your first couple days. But it is always helpful to have a nice overview of what the company does, maybe what they're known for. So like for SpartanNash, I can tell you one of the things we're known for is that we have a lot of business that goes to support the military. So it's a part of our business, but that's something that people usually identify with us. So things like that, like tricks of the trade. And then your team, so knowing a little bit about how your team works, how many people are on the team. Are you going to be a part of a 12-person team or a 3-person team? There's a big difference in the dynamic there. So making sure to ask questions around that. One of the best things that I see from interns as we kind of lead toward the summer after we've hired them is them reaching out asking, hey, what kind of systems should I be getting exposure to? Or what types of classes could I sign up for that's going to help me prepare for an internship? So those are definitely things you should be asking either the manager leading up to your internship or again, the person interviewing you, the HR representative that you're working with. They can usually give you some tips and tricks of what types of things that you could get familiar with that's going to help set you up for success moving forward. And then relevant industry knowledge. So, just keep an eye out on the news, keep an eye out on some sort of article. We actually have like specific magazines and stuff that come out for the grocery industry. So it's always nice to just pick one of those up, read them every once in a while, make sure you understand what's going on in your relevant industry. So those are a few things that I think is really important to kind of impress people on your first day. If you come in knowing a lot about the company, knowing a lot about the team and what you've done to prepare is going to really showcase well on your first day. I also say know the end goal. So I think one of the best questions people ask me during interviews is what's the purpose of our program or what types of opportunities are there for full-time conversion afterward? That is the goal, I would say, of most internship programs now, and it's certainly the goal, I would think, for most students, that there's going to be an opportunity to be hired in a permanent capacity after an internship. So make sure you talk about that with, again, probably the HR representative you're going to work through in the process. About if that's something that the company intends to do, if that's a goal of theirs, and then learn how to discuss your career path and intentions with that in mind. So if you know for a fact that that's something that is on the table, know how to confidently speak to the fact that you're looking for that full-time opportunity at the end. So anytime you're having a performance conversation, maybe you're prepared to talk about how you think you're doing really well in this area, and that it would definitely benefit this team potentially, and you see yourself as a good fit for that team on a full-time capacity after the internship. So it's just learning how to be confident, I would say. Figure out what path you want to take. So I'm trying to think, like a broad major would be like marketing. So when you get into an internship, I think it's a good idea to see all the different aspects of marketing and then help people who are trying to help you narrow down what you're really looking to get into. You could go into digital marketing, you could go into marketing analytics, you could do private label marketing is a good example for us. So anytime that you get the chance to really narrow down and help people understand what you're looking for is going to be great. Any questions on this side? Just a little bit about how to kind of prepare for that first day or know what you should be going into intentions-wise with the internship?
So there was a question from Suo Hong, and it said, I'm so sorry if I pronounced your name wrong, by the way. The question was, for when things you don't know come up frequently and you need to email your supervisor, do you need to write a formal email every time, or could you just write the question as if you were chatting or talking to the supervisor?
Good question. Yeah, so I would say if it's going to be an email, then yes, I would probably stick to a more formal format. At least, a greeting and then your question and then a signature. It doesn't always have to be a very long, blown out, hi, how are you? Like that really well rehearsed kind of email template. It can be pretty direct, but I would say try to keep it at least with a greeting and then a signature at the end of that. Let me know if that answers your question.
And I believe that was the only question.
Okay, perfect. So prepare. So kind of along with that slide that I just threw up there, I think this all goes together. So preparation is just going to be key throughout any part of your career. This is also a slide I usually include, and a lot of it's applicable right now for interviewing and career fairs, especially virtual career fairs, but it's all the same for your internship as well. So I included a few photos here actually from this past summer. So this is my 2020 class of interns, and they were phenomenal. They were amazing virtually. They all were so adaptable, and I'm really appreciative of it. But you can see in the photos, they're still interacting with one another. That's actually our CFO in that photo on the bottom, and they're interacting with him, asking him questions. And they're providing some really good examples of what I mean when I talk about prepare. So prepare for your meetings. No matter what type of meeting it is, whether it's with the CFO or if it's just with another intern, prepare for them. Make sure you've researched about what the meeting is for, that you know what the goal of the meeting is. And have questions prepared about anything that you might want to ask afterward. You want to make sure that any time spent in a meeting is going to be productive. You don't want it to be something where you sit and you chat for a while because neither of you really thought about it beforehand. So the more preparation you do before a meeting, the better. Test your connection. This is probably a one and done for the most part, unless you're in a new environment, but test your connection before you have, especially a really big important meeting. I would make sure your Wi-Fi is working that day, that there's no issues, that your camera's going to hook up okay, your audio is fine. Technology is not always our friend, and sometimes it has issues. So just make sure, again, particularly in front of a really important meeting, that you've double checked on all those things. I put here use the right kind of equipment. So I've just noticed personally in Teams, which is what SpartanNash uses and what we're using today, obviously. If you're using a mobile device, it tends to kind of cut you off and it has a weird angle. And you don't want that, right, in a meeting where you're trying to kind of still get that face-to-face environment. So I would highly recommend using a laptop as much as you possibly can when you're working. I think mobile devices are wonderful, but sometimes, again, they just don't have quite the same effect or the same features as a traditional laptop does. So I would always try to use that. Dress for success. So if you're going to be on camera a lot, which I encouraged my interns all summer to do, to stay on camera as much as possible to kind of build those relationships face to face. Dress for success. Make sure that you're dressing just like you would if you were in the office. I know it's tempting right now to be in pajama pants and a sweatshirt all day. Don't get me wrong, but you want to make sure that, again, the people you're meeting with, again, you're dressed appropriately for that occasion. You don't have to wear a suit every single day, but just make sure that you're wearing something that you'd be proud of. Again, if you were caught in person as well, I think is probably the best way to put it. So, and then prepare your space. So this is really important. And again, I think most of my interns here are doing a great job in these photos. Have good lighting, make sure it's a quiet space as much as possible, and then a nice clean background. So good lighting is pretty simple. Again, that's just finding a good space within your home, apartment, or wherever you're at. Quiet is challenging, I know, with so many people home and so many things that are going on in the home. But try your best to do that. And I always tell people too, we're all humans. So if you know for a fact that your little cousin that you're staying with that week is going to come in, or you have a dog or a cat or whatever that's going to make noise in the background, just be transparent about that and address it right in the beginning so that it's not an awkward thing that hasn't been addressed. And then a clean background. So like today I tried to practice what I preach. I have a pretty simple background behind me, so it's not distracting from me, distracting from what I'm talking about. So try to do the same when you're in meetings. You don't want anyone focused on whatever's going on behind you. You want them listening to what you're talking about. So those are just a few tips and tricks for, again, kind of that day-to-day, how to prepare for your meetings and be successful virtually. Any questions on this slide?
No questions.
Okay, perfect. And then kind of building more into the day-to-day here. So one thing I always really directly address with my intern group, and this is in person or virtual. I think virtual, again, it's just a little more well-known, but downtime is completely normal. There's going to be downtime, especially in your first couple weeks as an intern. You don't know a lot about the business. You don't know a lot about your projects. You don't know a lot about your team quite yet, maybe, and how to interact with them. So don't feel guilty is the biggest thing that I can say. It's very natural that you're going to have some downtime. No one expects you to start and just know exactly what to do for every second of your day. That being said, again, I think you should become really comfortable with becoming independent and making sure that you're kind of pestering people, asking for more and more work if you have a lot of downtime. Past that 2-week mark, I would say you probably should be feeling pretty busy, that you should at least know what you should be doing next and how to fill your day with work. And if you don't, then again, I think you have every right to reach out to your manager or maybe fellow teammates and ask them if they have anything they need help on, if there's any additional work you could take on. So definitely be comfortable kind of feeling that level of independence where you're in charge of the fact that you have downtime. And if you want to fill it, you need to reach out to people and ask for more work. A few other things to do with downtime: reach out and network. That's one of the best parts about being an intern is no one's going to say no, right? Usually everyone wants to help somebody out who's early in career and just looking to find out more. So reach out to people that seem to be in a position you might be interested in, or that seem to have a type of work style similar to you and you want their advice. Set up meetings with people, just a quick half hour, and tell them you just want to pick their brain a little bit about what they do or what you could do to be better, things like that. So there's always opportunity to reach out and at least just network and kind of get to know other people in the company outside of your team. And then I also know, so at SpartanNash, we have a lot of development courses that are available to associates. And they're webinars, they're in-person meetings, there's all sorts of stuff that you have access to. I would definitely tell you to explore what your internal development courses are, whatever organization you're in. Sometimes, again, it could just be maybe a course that you take online, or it's going to be a seminar you attend like this. But I would definitely say that's another great way to kind of fill your day if you're experiencing a lot of downtime that's still productive and professional. And it'll be a great thing to talk to your manager about, that you went and sought those types of opportunities out for yourself. So that's kind of the downtime that I like to address. Again, I just think it's something that you have to be really realistic about. There's no way you're going to fill a full 40 hours in 1 week when you don't really know what you're doing quite yet. So just make sure you're finding creative ways to kind of fill that time in a productive and professional manner. And then stay connected and responsive. So that's another big piece of your day-to-day, especially being fully virtual. You really have to work hard to build your professional brand this way, and I think that's what everyone's more than aware of. Being virtual doesn't mean that you can't still be known for a personality. So just make sure that what you're doing makes your personality and your work ethic shine through. You want the opportunity for people to see that you're always timely to meetings, that you're always responding to whether or not you can attend a meeting, that you're active and replying to emails in a reasonable amount of time. You want to build that work ethic and that brand that people are expecting, usually in person, where they get to know you back and forth throughout the office. You can still do that virtually. Again, it just takes a little bit more effort, I would say, of being online and making sure that you're continuing to be responsive and staying connected to people in that way. And that'll happen too with the networking. I think, again, as long as you continue to kind of put yourself out there and make it clear you want to get to know more people and the business better, that's going to make a really big impression for people as well. Any questions on this material?
You're good to keep going.
Cool. Okay. Another big thing I would talk about for the day-to-day is time management. So a lot of programs, I would say, have a lot of professional development they do. So at SpartanNash, we do a ton of stuff throughout the summer, probably about once a week, sometimes even twice a week. I took my intern group and we would either do an executive speaker. So you saw earlier, they sat down with our chief financial officer to talk about everything that he has done, his career path, his advice for them, his strategy for the business. So they got to hear from all of our executive vice president level about all those things. And then they got to ask a lot of questions and have good conversations. That was awesome. We also did a business etiquette lunch where they got to learn virtually even which fork do they use during which course while they're eating and all that good stuff. We would usually do like a retail store tour or a distribution center tour, just for a few examples of other professional development. And I always, again, this is really applicable advice to both virtual and regular internships. Take advantage of those experiences. I know sometimes that it can be difficult to manage your time to make sure that you're still able to attend those types of things. If you have, a big deadline maybe on a project, or you're really caught up in a part of your project you're working on. But those are huge opportunities, and we work really hard on the HR side usually to put those together. So we want you to take advantage of them. We want you to understand that, again, it's going to give you a more well-rounded exposure to the company as a whole, to all the different functions and how it works. And it's also going to make you a better professional moving forward. So I would definitely say manage your time so that you're able to attend those professional development conferences. and events. So that photo right there is actually my 2019 intern group, and they attended an all-day conference with Hello West Michigan. So that was a huge time management crunch, right? They had to figure out how they could carve an entire day out for that. But all of them did, and they got an amazing experience out of it. So that's one thing I just like to advocate for. Another thing to be really transparent about is your hours. So this is one of the most common questions or pain points I think I get from students throughout the summer and leading up to the summer. You know, being hourly and trying to make a good impression can be hard because you feel like there's this overwhelming need to put in a lot of overtime and all that stuff. Be honest about what the expectations are with your manager. So I would just say that you want to understand what their team's norm usually is. We all have teams that usually, like, they're known for coming in early and leaving a little bit early. Like, they come in at 7 and they leave at 4 instead of coming in at 8 and staying till 5. Or teams that come in a little bit later, like that they are totally fine with people dropping in at 9 or 9:30, but they stay on a little bit later. So figure out what your team's norm is as you get started. That's something that, again, I think is really important, just to kind of figure out and make you feel more comfortable too. You don't want to be the person who's always logging off at 4 if the rest of your team's on till 5 all the time. That'll probably make you feel a little awkward. So just be mindful of that. And then again, I think it's just about asking the right questions. If you notice suddenly that, you know, things have shifted and you are constantly not on when everyone else is on, or you're off when everyone else is on, tell your manager, hey, I've noticed that maybe I'm not lining up well with the schedule that everyone else has. What can I do to do better? How can I adjust my schedule to be more aligned with everybody else? But that's huge. And I know for us, we stay away from overtime. We want you guys to enjoy your summer. We don't want you to feel like you have to work, you know, 60-hour work weeks here. So we really emphasize not going to overtime, and that's another big thing that I know most programs do. It is a really impressive thing when students are able to complete their work within that 40 hours. That again, when there's those types of rules in place or those types of requests in place, that you're trying to obey them, because it's a really good reflection on you that you're able to manage your time and fit within a certain constraint, I guess, that's been put in place for you. Yeah, any questions on time management or that kind of piece of the day-to-day of what you can monitor?
So far, no questions.
So that kind of brings me actually to what makes a successful intern, which is like the #1 question I get probably throughout the interview process, or again, as we lead up to the summer. I actually go ahead and talk with my interns about this in an email as they get ready for their summer. What makes a successful intern to me, whether it's in person or virtual, is someone who's not afraid to ask questions. And that means a lot of things. So you don't want to be the person who's constantly challenging every single thing that comes up at work. And you don't want to not be a problem solver. So you have to find a balance there, I would say. But I think asking questions is one of the best things that you can do in life, period. And so especially as an intern who's trying to learn more about their field, who's trying to learn more about, you know, what career path they want to go into or the specific project they're working on, asking questions is going to be so important. And I just think you should really work on how to ask questions in a polite and constructive way, how to challenge status quos. That's one of the best parts about internships for the business side, is we get this brand new perspective where you guys come in with a fresh pair of eyes looking at a process. And 9 times out of 10, you're able to identify, well, hey, why did we do that? Couldn't it be easier if we did it this way? Just because, again, you're a new person looking at it from the outside. So asking those types of questions, challenging things, challenging processes that have been put in place. And again, finding the balance between being a problem solver and asking a lot of questions. So if there's an opportunity for you to browse and maybe find the answer to what you're looking for, I highly encourage you to do that. But if you think that the conversation coming out of the question is going to be really beneficial and really help you out, I think that's honestly an amazing thing to do as well. Because again, I think talking through stuff is much better than just a Google search for the most part. So that's always kind of my just nailed down advice for every single circumstance when it comes to an internship, whether it's virtual or in person. This is one of my favorite photos from last summer. We put it together. It's a collage that sounds like SpartanNash, which is our company hashtag, and that's all 20 interns that we had. I had them take it in a place that they thought reflected them well. So Brendan, there has a dog in his photo, and then Cole's outside. He has a farm back home. So again, you can see here too, like they're really showing their personality. They're showing their brand that they have as well in this. And I can tell you this student group was phenomenal through their virtual internship. Again, asked a bunch of good questions. They challenged our processes. They made us better as a company. And they were super agile and adaptable to really making it a successful summer for everyone involved. I wanted to double the slide, I guess, too, as kind of wrapping up and seeing what kind of conversation we can have around this. I want to make it much more of a dialogue than a monologue, so I tried to keep just my spiel to a short and sweet. But what types of questions do you guys have for me, I guess, about anything that I've covered? The interview process, I'm really open to talking about kind of any of the virtual side of things right now. I know that's the hot topic.
So Jamie, I actually have a question for you while others are maybe thinking of some. How do we stand out during the interview process while it's virtual?
Yeah, that's a great question. So I would say, again, it's going to be about that personality piece. So I think, again, having a really great resume, which seems silly to even have to say, but it's really true. Go to the Career Center, set up an appointment with your Career Center virtually, get your resume worked on, make sure it's up to date, that it's perfect. That's going to be the first step. I would say to stand out, particularly with a resume, make sure that you've customized your resume to the job posting you're looking at. So like a good example would be if it says you need really strong Excel skills, maybe you don't have that on your base resume, but you can very quickly and easily add in, a note about that you're really well versed in Excel. Or if it wants you to be knowledgeable in PowerPoint, again, same thing, you can add something like that in. So that's going to be huge to stick out in the first place, just resume wise. And then through the interview process, I would say, again, it's taking a lot of steps to make sure that you have a professional interview setting still, which I know can be difficult, especially if you're on campus with friends or a bunch of roommates. Make sure that, again, you find a quiet space, your laptop's set up, it's steady, it's not just sitting on your lap, shaking around, anything like that. And being enthusiastic. You'd be surprised at how many people, I think, mostly because of nerves, I would think most of the time, kind of come across as mellow, or they're not super excited about the job they're talking about. If you just come informed and confident and clearly excited about the opportunity in front of you, that's going to mean a lot too. That's going to show, again, that you're really prepared for this, that you really are excited about it.
Great. Thank you, Jamie. And then we do have another question from Kayla Johnson. Okay. She asked, how often should you connect with your leader if you are given projects to do independently?
Good question. Yeah. So that's a tough one, I would say, to blanket answer. Depends on a lot of different factors, but I would say the biggest thing is when you get the assignment given to you, set a timeline with your manager. So as soon as they tell you, hey, I need you to complete X, Y, and Z, I would say, yep, that's great, I can do that. When would you like an update by? That's a really big thing that you do past an internship as well. I mean, you need to know, like, what are the expectations from the manager or the person assigning you the work so that you can meet those expectations. So always ask for their type of deadline. And then again, I'm going to say anytime you hit a roadblock and you've exhausted all of your options to try to figure it out by yourself or with someone else, then it's time to go to your manager, because they'd much rather have you ask a simple question that they maybe can answer in 2 minutes versus you spend 3 hours trying to figure it out by yourself and still not get anywhere. They're going to really respect the fact that you come with the question, that you're willing to do that, and again, move forward in the project in a productive way.
Great. Well, thank you so much, Jamie. If there is no other questions, then that is the end of the workshop. Again, thank you so much, Jamie, for hosting this. And then for the 2 winners, they are Caleb Molker and Yunhei Jang. I am so sorry, again, if I am pronouncing any names wrong. If you guys want to come by the Career Center tomorrow to pick up your gifts from SpartanNash, that would be wonderful. Thank you all so much for attending. This will be recorded and posted on Teams, I believe. And again, thank you so much, Jamie.
Awesome. Thank you, guys. I really appreciate it. SpartanNash does have internships out there if you want to take a look. I'd love to connect with you and kind of see some of this advice implemented.